All right, so for our latest project, we're going to be taking a look at this realistic Lab 420 direct drive turntable. This unit does have some automatic features to it. And this unit belongs to one of my customers here local in my area. And he picked this up. I don't even remember where he said he got it from. He said that he does know the platter will rotate, but it seems like none of the automatic features is working. And I don't even know if he got as far as to see if it will produce any sound. It looks like it does have the stock cartridge on it, assuming that was the stock cartridge back in the day. Looks like it's an old Shure cartridge, but we'll look into all of that and see if we can figure out what's going on with it. It's not in terrible shape. There's a couple of chips in the wood platter there, or the wood frame, and the top lid has got some paint flakes on it, as oftentimes you'll find with these, but otherwise, it's not in terrible shape. So as always, we'll come in, we'll take a quick look at the controls here. There's not a lot to see, and then we'll dive right in and see what it will do or what it won't do. As for our opening music this time, going back to 1986, checking out Fastway's recording of the Trick or Treat movie soundtrack. And of course, being this close to Halloween, this is always the time of year that reminds me of this band and reminds me of this album in particular. Remember going to the theater and seeing this movie when it was released back in the day. And we'll play a little bit of one of my favorite songs from this. This is the title track, Trick or Treat. Let's hear a little bit of this and then we'll get started on the realistic. All right, let's pick back up and take a quick look at the controls here. Unfortunately, the hinges have exhausted their usefulness for holding the top cover in place, so we're going to have to hang on to that to keep it from crashing down. Over on the far left here, you're going to get speed adjustments for 33 and 45, and then of course the speed selector between the two speeds. To give you the built-in stroboscope there, 50 and 60 hertz. Moving over to the right, you got the start, reject, and off lever, as well as the queuing. Then of course the record size, and then a programmable repeat here. You can just set it for single play, or you can select up to 5 different times for the album to continue playing. Of course, anti-skate, and then a adjustment weight on the arm itself. Looks very similar to the one over there in that Project One turntable that I have. Let's take a look at this cartridge. Again, I don't know that this is the actual factory cartridge. It could be, but I don't know that. Messing the set screw, M104E. See how close we can get to this. I don't know, it looks like there's probably a little life left there. So yeah, I don't know if they would have used a P-mount cartridge in this when it came stock from the factory, but I bet the catalog would tell us. I'll have to pull this up out of the catalog and have a look at it. Well, since the top cover won't stay up by itself, let's go ahead and remove that. Let's put the cartridge back on it and let's get it hooked up, and let's see if it will turn and if it will produce any sound for us. So give me a second for that. All right, as we pick back up, went ahead and got the dust cover off of it, got the unit hooked up power-wise, and then we routed it over to the mixer so we can hear it properly here in the video. And one thing I've noticed is the controls for the speed adjustment are actually pretty bad. They're pretty touchy because I can't seem to get it locked into one place without it moving around. But that's just one issue. Let's go ahead and drop the arm down here. And I mean, it is producing sound, but it's not very good. So after a little closer examination of that stylus, it is pretty worn down. So I would imagine that's going to be something that's going to be on the list of things for him to get. That'll be something he'll want to take care of himself if he doesn't already have something he can use there. So we know for a fact we need to clean the controls up. But as far as the start, stop, reject, it does absolutely nothing, just like he says. When you push that lever, it doesn't attempt to stop. It doesn't attempt to do anything. So, all right, I guess our first step, let's go ahead. We'll remove the head shell, secure the arm, take the platter off of it, stand it up on end, and let's get the bottom off. And let's just kind of observe if we see anything in the mechanism that might be broke, or maybe we're just dealing with a hard grease scenario. Over time, that grease will harden up and it'll cause things that are supposed to slide together nice and smoothly not to do that anymore, and that can cause issues with the automatic features. So let's go ahead and get the bottom off of it and check that out. So give me a moment for that, and we'll pick back up. All right, let's go ahead and pick back up. Went ahead and got the bottom of the unit off and started taking a look around and didn't really see anything broke here, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a gear here that kind of rides off of this one that sits kind of underneath the tone arm assembly here. But all this other plastic pieces appear to be pretty free moving. This feels a little locked into place. But I did notice this on the other side. After taking the platter off, you notice there's a big cam gear there that rides off the center spindle of the turntable motor. When you look at that, it looks kind of like the gear is sitting further down on this side than it is on this side. And the gear, when you spin this, no matter what you do, it doesn't seem to do anything. But if you pull up on it a little bit, it'll start to turn that master cam gear. So I don't know if there's been an issue with this, or something's bent, something's broke, or what's going on. Let me go ahead, I'm going to set you up overhead and we'll take this off and have a look at this, because it definitely don't look like it's feels like there's something underneath there going on. So let's do that. Let's take that off and have a look at that real quick. All right, let's take this off and have a look underneath here and see if we might be able to get an idea of what might be going on. It's got like a little paper washer there that we'll want to make sure that we don't lose. Well, it did just come right off without any problem whatsoever. I mean, I don't see anything broke about this. As for right here, that post is a little bit dry, but I don't know if that's what's really going on. When I take a look at this, this doesn't really look to me like there's anything broken. That does look a little bent though. That kind of looks like it's favoring over to this side. I wonder what would happen if we bent that back a little bit, maybe. I wonder how this will set in there now. Yeah, that's kind of like the way it's supposed to sit right there. But what I don't understand is how that would have got bent, unless somebody would have been maybe messing with it a little bit. I don't think it would have gotten bent just out of natural use. You know, that's a pretty hard piece of metal and it's a pretty hard post. While we're in there, let's go ahead and put a little grease on it. And then we'll put the platter on it and we'll try it and see if it'll work. It's definitely a weird thing just to catch that gear kind of sitting off to the one side. Wasn't real bad, but it was enough to where you could tell it wasn't meshing with the teeth on the one on the platter motor. We'll put a little here in the grooves of the gear as well. It does feel a little bit dry. And I'm going to say maybe something along these lines here in an effort to try to get it lined back up maybe. There we go. Let's see what happens here. Well, for the moment, let's leave it like that, and let's put the clip back on it and put the platter back on it and see what happens. See if we have any significant change. There we go. That looks all right. All right, give me a second. Let's get the platter back on it and let's see if it'll do anything more than it was doing before we started messing with it. All right, as I come back in with you, went ahead and put the platter back on it, and here's what we got when we hook it up. Got some gear on gear teeth there. So let's go ahead and stop that. So it's hitting there, something's not doing what it's supposed to do, but yeah, you can tell it's just kind of hitting right there. And we are meshing, the two gears are meshing now, but it seems like we've got something else going on. Trying to do this one-handed is not easy to do. So I was looking around in here, and when I was making the statement that all these gears feel pretty loose, I did not mess with this one, and this one feels like it is really tight in place. So I think that's the next thing I want to do. I'm going to pull this gear off and see if there's some hardened grease right there that's causing this thing to hang up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, check into that, and I'll bring you back and let you know what I find out about it. All right, so as we pick back up, there wasn't an issue with hardened grease. There was an issue with my placement of that gear or that lever inside that cam gear. It wasn't inside the groove, it was outside of the groove. And so, of course, when that cam came around and tried to activate that lever, it just kept hitting against it because it wasn't inside the groove the way it was supposed to be. So that was an error on my part. But now we do got it. It seems like it's working anyway. We'll start. Watch it here. I do have the arm raised so it can't drop down on the mat. And then of course, if we advance it over to the end of the record, brings it back and shuts off. So it appears that that was really just it, that that post on that gear got bent. How it got bent, I don't know. You know, that's kind of a surprising thing to me, because that's a, like, again, it's not like it's a flimsy piece of metal. That's a hard piece of metal and a hard post. So kind of surprising that that would have got bent, but it is what it is. That's what we found. So I think the next step, we'll go ahead and get these controls cleaned up, see if we can get the speed under control. And then from that point, we'll do a little testing with it. I'll pull the cartridge head shell off my unit, put it on here, and we'll get a good idea, you know, as far as performance-wise and so forth. I actually have a stylus that'll fit that, so I guess we'll just pull the stylus instead of the whole head shell and use the stylus in it. So give me a few minutes for that, and we'll pick back up. All right, let me bring you back and kind of get you caught up on where I'm at with this. Was taking a look at the hinges for the top cover of this, and in the beginning when I first looked at this, these didn't catch my eye. I just assumed that they were worn out, but as it turns out, basically they're broken. Basically we have a metal spring here under a little bit of tension. One side of it is secured by this metal clasp on the bottom part of the hinge, the body of the hinge, and then they secured the other piece inside this piece of plastic. And of course, over time, that piece of plastic just breaks away, gives from all the pressure on it. Let's see if I can get you zoomed in a little bit here. So I came up with a little bit of a fix here, definitely better than what he had to start with. Let's see if we can get it in focus. Basically, my fix was we'll bring a screw in. I drilled a small hole from the side right here and brought a screw in, and then caught that into the spring behind the screw, and then reattached down here. Made the screw long enough to where it wouldn't slide off. I don't think it could anyway, but we did go ahead and put an extra long screw there. And it could just be a temporary fix. It may not work forever, but it's definitely better than having to take the lid off every time you want to play an album. Did the same thing on the other side. The body on this side was not broken off quite as bad, but still broke nonetheless. Basically just wore a groove right there where the spring catches tension at. So I did the same thing. Brought a screw in from the side, used a screwdriver to hold this in place while I put the screw in, and then secured it down here after I was done. And the lid stays up quite nice using this configuration, so I think we're gonna be okay. So I think I'll go ahead and get the controls cleaned up for the speed adjustment. There ain't anything too exciting about that. And once I have that done, I'll bring you back and we'll put another stylus in this thing and do a little testing with it. So give me a moment for that. We'll pick back up. All right, let's go ahead and pick back up. Went ahead and got the bottom of the unit back on it. Pretty much did a little lubrication and some of the other points on the underneath the mechanism. Anything that basically had a moving piece. Tried to get some lubrication there, but all of it was pretty free moving. So I don't think that was anything to be too concerned about. At the end of the day, it looks like it was the bent post on the main cam gear under the platter that was causing the issue the unit was having anyway. So what I did is I went ahead and pulled off the head shell from my own turntable, and we'll see how well the camera will agree to show it to us here. But what I use over in mine is a Shure RX T6. It is a P-mount using a generic stylus. When I got the cartridge, it was used and the stylus in it was spent. And so instead of paying a fortune for an original one, I decided to go with a generic, and it has turned out to work pretty well for me. And so went ahead and installed that into his head shell and his cartridge. And this lid is working beautifully. Now that that hinge situation is fixed, it holds it in place very well, very confidently. And so I would imagine that maybe with some light use, if you're not being abusive to this, it'll probably hold up pretty well for that repair. Went ahead and got the speed controls cleaned up, so all that's working the way it's supposed to. So we'll do our first little demo here using our Thin Lizzy Renegade test album. Turn it up in the mixer for you a little bit here so you can hear it.
They say people out in Hollywood live their life out in black and white. They're living out a technicolor dream. Next day they're a star overnight. Not like in New York, man, it's tougher. Not like in London town, boy, you suffer. Nobody give a break when you're down on your luck. Everybody's on the take when you're down on your luck. You can't make a mistake when you're down.
And so it looks like it's working pretty well. There doesn't seem to be any issues with anything. I did try all of the automatic features, including the programmable repeat. Let's go ahead and kind of get the album towards the end here. And we'll try that feature out. We'll just put it on 2. And we'll kind of simulate what would happen if the record reaches the end. Basically come over, shut off, and then start right back up again right at the beginning of the record. And again, if you had this on 2, which I have it on, it will do that once more when it reaches the end. And as it's making its way through the number of times you've programmed it for, this wheel continuously rotates to the left, getting back to single play. And then on the final time, of course, it'll come back and shut down, and it won't start back up again. So, got all that worked out. Everything seems to be good. So I think we're going to go ahead and do a final play test on this one and get it wrapped up. We'll go ahead and use the cartridge that came with the unit and use the stylus from my head shell. And we'll go ahead and get this one put to bed. So give me a moment for that and we'll pick back up. All right, so as we come in one last time, having a look at this realistic Lab 420 direct drive automatic turntable. As always, I want to thank you guys very much. Appreciate you checking out the video this time, as well as all the videos on the channel. Thanks to all the new people that have subscribed. I appreciate that very much. And to all of you that have left comments or reached out for advice on something you might be working on, rest assured, I will eventually get back to you. Just depends usually on what kind of caseload I have around here and what other things I have going on. So basically in 1981, if you were looking for a turntable and you found yourself in Radio Shack, this is the 1981 catalog, you definitely would have seen the Lab 420 as it was their new turntable for that year. Basically here it says new for 81, fully automatic with programmable repeat. $219 is what you would have been paying for one, which was a considerable amount of money back in the day. Can't really tell here, but the cartridge that came with this turntable when it was new, basically a $40 Shure cartridge, but it was not a P-mount. It was a direct mount type of cartridge. So At the beginning of the video, we played Fastway, Trick or Treat soundtrack music. And if you're not familiar with that band, of course, the Fast part of the name is referring to Fast Eddie Clarke, guitarist, and the Way portion referring to Pete Way, the bassist from the band UFO. So on our way out of this video, we're going to check out a little bit of my vinyl copy of Lights Out by UFO. And I did cue this up, so hopefully it will drop where it's supposed to. So let's check out a little bit of the title track, and as always, thank you guys very much, and I'll catch you on the next video.